Joining me now is Sir Alan Moses, a former Lord Justice of the Court of Appeal, who is one of the signatories of a letter this week from 600 lawyers, academics and retired senior judges, warning that the UK government is breaching international law by continuing to arm Israel. Also, we have Alima Shivji, Oxfam GB's interim chief executive, and Isaac Zarfati, executive director of Stand With Us UK, an organisation which aims to educate and counter misinformation about Israel in Britain. How important, in your eyes, was this week? Was this a watershed moment for you?
I think that what happened was a tragedy. I think that Israel admitted that it was a grave mistake, but we need to bear in mind what are the objectives of this war, and to remember that Israel eventually needs to end this war with eliminating Hamas and bring the hostages back. As I said, Israel is going to learn this incident. I'm sure that Israel needs to restore the confidence and the trust in order to enable humanitarian aid workers to continue and do their important work in Gaza. But again, we need to be focused on the objectives of the war, which is eliminating Hamas and bring back the hostages.
So we mentioned that you served in the IDF. When you read about what happened, was this an aberration? Was it surprising? Because there are people who say that the IDF is very, very careless of Palestinian life. Do you accept that?
Not at all. I think that the IDF has a strong awareness about international law. I myself served in the IDF, and I remember that there were officers that there were experts in international law that advised us and make sure that we're doing the right things. And again, we are talking about a 6 months war. We are talking about one of the most complicated war zones ever, with tunnels, or a terror organization that embedded himself among civilians, using civilians as human shields. And what happened now is something that the IDF will learn. And bear in mind that this is the first time that something like that happened in 6 months. It's quite a long period of time that those things didn't happen.
Yeah, well there are
a lot of aid workers who were killed besides those in the tragic incident this week.
The UN says
saw the numbers earlier.
No one was targeted by the IDF.
It's not to do with targeting.
No, we need to remember that there are also a terror organization in Gaza that's stealing the humanitarian aid, that used the humanitarian aid in order to preserve his power, taking it from civilians. So we need to see things in broader aspect.
We also acknowledge that this is a very disproportionate response by Israel in an enclave civilian population of over 2 million people. People don't have anywhere to go. There is no safe place inside Gaza today.
When Israel launched its attack on northern Gaza, it waited almost a month and opened a humanitarian corridor. I don't think that there is any precedent or something like that in the history of wars. Make sure that all the Gazan civilians, or those that Hamas didn't prevent them to go south, are in safe place in the El Mawasi area, and then it launched its attack on the north. The reason Israel is not getting into Rafah right now is because Israel is aware that there are 1 million civilians there, and it doesn't want to attack them, and it negotiates with the United States in order to create a safe area for them.
But Isaac, I just want to come to you on the geopolitics of this. Very significant moment is what analysts are saying, where the United States says to Israel, unless you change policy, you may not get our support. How significant is that? How is that being reviewed in Israel?
So I think that the majority of the Israelis wants to see the hostages back at home. They know that in order to achieve that, Hamas must be removed from power. Right now, we all know that Hamas leadership and the hostages are in Rafah, and it seems like there is no other solution other than to get into Rafah. The disagreement between Israel and the US is mainly on how to achieve this goal. Obviously, the Israelis visited and met US officials last week. They presented them with a plan. The US has their reservations about it. I believe that at some point they will find a balance point that will enable Israel to achieve the objectives of the war while maintaining the humanitarian aid and law.
And Isaac, you're seeing Israel's reputation from London. Do you see that reputation under threat at the moment?
Look, obviously there is a lot of criticism against Israel, but I think that this step, although I believe in your good intentions, is to harm Israel's national security. It's a harsh step against Israel. We need to understand that Israel is now fighting not only in Gaza, Israel has other fronts, including Iran, which is the main front. The decision there is no other way to say it, put an embargo of weapons on Israel will harm Israel, which is the only Western country and the only democracy that it is in the forefront of war against terror, against radical Islam, and against Iran. And we need to see the things in this context.
We do have to leave it there, but thank you all very much for coming in to speak to me.